Let's support at the Henderson Explore Center. I hope you're having a good day. We are back with another experiment here. This is kind of a twist on one of our labs that we do for schools when they invite us out, and that is kind of color mixing. And then we're going to take and we're going to add a little bit more and see some fun things we can actually do with watercolor that we're going to kind of create. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to start. For my color today, like I said, it's a fun twist. We have some old Kool-Aid that we found when we were cleaning, and so we're going to use that as our primary colors today. So, we're just going to start off, of course, with our red. I have a bucket of water. I've got several cups that I'm going to use like this, and we're going to start mixing here. And I tried to use some warm water to help it dissolve a little bit faster. Normally when we do this for schools, we have little kind of color tablets, kind of similar to what you might, kind of like a bath bomb, bath fizzer kind of thing.
Hi, CoZed friends. Thanks for joining us.
But like I said, we're going to have a little bit of fun today. So obviously, we're going to do some yellow next. Like I said, we're making the primary colors first.
How many primary colors?
There are 3 primary colors.
3 primary colors.
Essentially, a primary color is a color that cannot be created by mixing other colors together.
With pigment.
With pigment.
Not light primary colors.
No, light is a completely different thing altogether, which is actually a fun one to talk about. We might touch on it later. So we have red, yellow, and now we're also going to do blue. I hope this one's actually blue. All right. Let's find out here. That was deceiving. It was a white powder. All right. So essentially, we have created our
Technical difficulties here.
whoops.
There we go.
We now have our primary colors. Now, I've already mixed these, but I also want to have our secondary colors. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of watercolor art with these as well. So, to use that, we're going to go ahead and create our secondary colors. So, I have 3 more cups, but instead of, I do have them down here, but instead of using Kool-Aid powders to create them, we're actually just going to mix the ones we already have because that is how we make our secondary colors. So, we use a little bit of the red and a little bit of the yellow. We should get kind of an orange. We'll test it out here when we actually get it on paper. It'll be a little more fun to see. But then next would be do a little bit of yellow and some blue. A little much, it's okay. And then of course the 2 colors we haven't yet mixed are red and blue, and that should give us a purple. All right. So essentially what we have our primaries, which again is the red, yellow, and the blue. Secondaries are orange, green, and purple. Now, like I said, we're going to do some watercoloring with these, and the fun thing with using Kool-Aid is now going to smell really good as well. So I'm going to shift these a little bit, because I'm going to we're going to use some different techniques to add some texture to watercolors. And I have already got all the things, so give me just a second here.
It does smell good around here.
We had lemonade, cherry, and I think it was blue raspberry lemonade. So it smells great in here. See.
I don't know about tasting it.
I would highly advise against tasting these. There is no sugar. It is also very concentrated, so nope. You'll just have a very good smelling piece of art. There we go. All right. And I need one more. So, if you've ever worked with watercolors, you know they're kind of, I would say, a little bit temperamental. They're harder to work with than others. But I'm just going to show you some fun techniques that you can use while doing them. that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before. And so the first off is really simple. You can grab any colored crayon really, but using a white is also kind of fun. Obviously when I mark on my piece of paper here, you're not really going to see too much because obviously white paper, white crayon. However, the crayon is made of a wax, kind of a wax substance, and so it kind of acts as a resistor. And so sometimes the watercolors don't like to stick to the crayon. Now these are not very pigmented. So one thing with watercolors, when you want to get the color darker, if you don't actually have a palette, and we're just going to use Kool-Aid today, you have to wait for it to dry. Let's test out my purple here. It's a bit of a dark purple. Had a little more red in there than blue. And so we're just going to quickly do some here. Also, one of the things, if you do end up trying this at home, is if you use regular paper, be warned, your water might kind of either cause the page to pill, kind of separate. There we go. Now we can see where that crayon was. So I don't know if you can bring cameras over here. So as you can see, again, the crayon acts as a resistor and won't allow the color to kind of go in there. But you can always add, also the fun things though is with watercolor, you can mix other colors in while it's still wet. And then of course, like I said earlier, if you want to make it darker, just let it dry and then you can go over it again. All right, so we've seen that. One of the fun ones to do as well, need kind of a lot of water to do it sometimes, is grab some of the color, and this is going to be kind of a texture, but this one we're going to have to wait to dry because this one, the effect is seen better when it's dry, is you can take a little bit of salt and it creates kind of a spotted effect. And you can use, whether it's just table salt or if you got some coarser salt, it's going to kind of create a grainy look once it dries. So like I said, we're going to do that one. What was the other one that took a little bit to do? Oh, yes, another fun one. Again, just a different texture that you can get using the watercolor is you can use Saran Wrap. Now, I actually couldn't find any in the building today, so I found a really cheap, flimsy sandwich bag, and hopefully that'll work pretty well. I did it earlier, and it turned out quite nicely, so we're just gonna put a bunch of color on the page. All right, and essentially what you do is just crumple, Saran Wrap, and then put it on top. Now this one takes a little bit more time to dry, and you might have to put some pressure because it doesn't always like to stay. Obviously, it's plastic. Especially, like I said, I'm using a sandwich bag, so it's a bit thicker than your Saran Wrap. Another thing you can do is use either masking tape or Scotch tape, painter's tape. Might be easier depending on the paper you're using. And you can actually create an outline of a shape or whatever you would like, or even take your tape and go across the whole canvas. We'll see if we can peel this up at the end. This one dries pretty quickly.
So this is kind of a different kind of paper, right? You said?
This is a thicker paper. It's not quite watercolor paper. I used some cardstock earlier versus just regular copy paper because regular copy paper is thinner, so the water is going to absorb faster than it would a cardstock. If you have white construction paper, that might work as well. But a thicker piece of paper would be better simply because water is going to absorb through a lot. So this is thicker. Again, even though I was using cardstock earlier, It still absorbs, so I had some pilling kind of going on. The paper kind of crumpled up together. And so, kind of made a mess, but I'll show you some of those here in just a bit. All right, let that one kind of dry as well. What are some of the other ones I did? Ah, yes. I don't know how well this one's worked because this is quite watery. I should have thinned it out or had less water. But one you can do, especially if you have just like a regular watercolor palette, is you can take the back of your thing. Oh, this works just as well. You can just scrape it. And if you want to make like an outdoor scene, it's really nice today. So if you want to go outside and try and paint something that's outside, you can do that as well. But essentially, just take something that's stiff. So like I said, I'm just using the back of the brush. And then you can create some marks, whether it be grass or use your imagination.
Happy little grass.
Happy little grass.
Bob Ross.
Another one you can do, again, I don't think this one's going to work for this particular set of colors I have because I used a little bit too much water, is if you take and put watercolor onto a piece of paper, and then if you have some rubbing alcohol, you can take and drip it onto the paper, and what it's going to do is it's going to break it apart. So here is some stuff I did earlier using these methods. I just take the tape off here real quick. So, there's more. I just selected a few that I did before a while ago. So, these are a bunch of different kinds. You can also use a paper towel. Paper towels have usually some texture to it, so if you just lay it across your watercolors, it'll pick up the color and then leave the design of the paper towel on there. This is the scratch method, so the same one down here. The salt, this one didn't turn out quite as well as I had hoped, but it gives kind of a splotchy, almost water look to it. This is the tape again. This gives you that fine border, so if you did decide to do your entire page with tape, you could probably make a lot of really cool like shapes and then fill each of them in, peel the tape off, and then you have these nice, fine, crisp edges. This was the crayon, but it did not turn out as well as this one did down there. Still a lot of fun. This is the saran wrap when it dries. This is when you get a lot of texture in kind of different ways depending on how you lay it. The thing is, using the saran wrap, you can mix the colors together and get even more kind of thing. Let's see, what was that one? Saran wrap. Oh, the rubbing alcohol. This one shows a little bit. I don't know if it'll show well on the camera. Essentially, it breaks apart the color and you get kind of a cracked look a little bit to it. So those are just a couple of things I did using this. I did some more testing. So this is the other one I did. Again, the tape, scraping, crayons. This is the paper towel. Ignore that one. Again, the rubbing alcohol didn't do as well, again, but it did break it apart. The salt. And so there's just a lot of different things you can do with watercolor. It's kind of one of the harder mediums to do art with, but always a fun one to kind of mess around, make something. So if you have some extra Kool-Aid packets and want to do some coloring, or if you even have a watercolor palette, go outside today. It's wonderful. Paint the scenery or whatever you would like. Just have some fun today. That is all I have.
Most generally, these are things that you might just have at home. You don't have to go and buy.
And that's the thing. That's one of the fun things. You could even use food coloring as well. If you've got your red, yellow, and your blue, you can then mix together the other colors. Just, of course, if it's food coloring, don't get it on your clothes or anything else because it does stain. Won't smell as nice as Kool-Aid, but you still get the same effect in terms of watercolor. So use things you have around your house. You don't have to go out of your way to buy a bunch of different things. Crayons are really easy to get your hands on as well. So, like I said, that is all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in if you did. If not, I hope you get a chance to watch this.
What about
later.
our camp? Is there a camp that?
Yes, we are doing an art camp. Assuming we, hopefully we'll get to do our camps. We have a camp coming up. It's a little bit different than this. It's going to be kind of a mixture. It is superhero science and art camp. I believe it's K through
Third.
through, I think, 8th grade or so. And it's going to be more than just art. We're going to be doing superhero science as well. So you get to design kind of your own persona, what you want to be, your powers as a superhero, and other things such as that. So again, our summer camps are out on our website. Again, Edgerton, EDGERTON.org in /camps. So if you want to check those out and just kind of give it a peek and see if there's anything that interests your kids, be great.
Those camps are in July.
Those camps are in July. They are towards the
July 20th.
July 20th. I was going to say, it's towards the end of July, that one is. So, again, check those out. And anything else before I say that again? No?
I think we're good.
Well, that's it for today. Again, hope you have some fun with watercolors at least sometime this week. And don't forget to check back in on Wednesday this coming week. We've got another, I think, lab coming up. And hopefully we'll let you in on the supplies that you'll need for that at 2 o'clock. So don't forget to check it and have a good rest of your day.